As we saw in an earlier video, despite his earlier posturing and grandstanding, Bob Iger in the end visited Mar-a-Lago to bend the knee and kiss the ring of one orange man bad. You know, the one who just maybe inspired Red Hulk in Captain America Brave New World somewhat. See that full video, which is linked to in the description, for more on that. Now, Disney are starting to walk back some of their earlier activist positions and DEI programs, and the employees of the activist persuasion are none too pleased about it. Let's dive in. Earlier in the week, it was reported that Disney was walking back the severity of the content warnings in front of their classic movies. They would not be walked back completely, mind you, but they would be made more generic, the way they initially started out, rather than as specific and morally condemning as they have been in recent years. To many, this is not nearly enough, but for the activist contingent, it was a bridge too far. And that, in a nutshell, is the state of affairs where walking back the DEI initiatives at Disney is concerned. To normal, well-adjusted, rational people, they're moving at a snail's pace, not doing nearly enough to remove the policies and practices which arguably have destroyed the company from the inside out, up to and including all their content. To the activists within the company, however, the people who are ashamed of the Disney legacy and hell-bent on using the Disney brands as a means to change the world to their liking, the DEI rollback is far too extreme, making them all feel unsafe, unseen, and unvalidated, and whatever other buzzword these people use, only with an "un" in front of it. That sets up this write-up from Deadline Hollywood. Dissent grows at Disney over perceived capitulation to Trump as DEI initiatives diminished. It reads, recent bends by Disney related to a court battle and diversity programs that appear to appease President Donald Trump and the MAGA crowd has left the home of the self-described happiest place on earth not so joyful for some staff. The moves at Disney come amid a hard push by the new Trump administration to end DEI initiatives. In addition to defending and banning such programs in the federal government, there have been widespread actions by Trump and his team against media companies, including Trump's now $20 billion lawsuit against CBS and the FCC, launching an investigation into Comcast's policies to end the scourge of DEI. While it certainly has been a scourge where entertainment is concerned. It's like JPEG on steroids, one Mouse House insider exclaimed, a nod to the Don't Say Gay stumble in 2022 by Disney's short-term ex-CEO Bob Chapek, after the now Bob Iger-run media giant unveiled shifts this week in its much-touted diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The Chapek stumble, huh? That was no stumble. It is honestly deceptive of Deadline Hollywood to frame it that way. We reported on it extensively at the time, as well as after the fact. That was when Chapek sensibly took the appropriate action of wanting Disney to return to the sensible center after Iger had pushed the company to the extreme left. And this just so happened to correspond with Florida's Parental Rights in Education bill, a completely rational bill that as little as 10 years ago, anyone in the world would just assume already must have been in place since the dawn of time. But at this time, however, it offended the most extreme fringes of the Democrat Party, which promptly gave it the entirely misleading and propagandistic moniker, Don't Say Gay Bill, something the mainstream media ran wild with and caused virtue-signaling celebrities to giggle gay, gay, gay wherever they went for months on end. Under Chapek, Disney initially took no stance on this, as indeed was the correct choice. But for doing so, the Iger faction of Disney essentially staged a coup against Chapek, and Iger himself publicly undermined Chapek on the matter. The actions of both Bob Iger himself and his cronies in the Iger faction of Disney directly led to DeSantis striking back, and the subsequent dissolution of the Reedy Creek Development District, which in a long enough time span will cost Disney trillions. All because the employees didn't listen to Chapek and take Disney back to the center when he wanted to. So yeah, you can safely say that there was a stumble, but that stumble was not doing what Chapek wanted. But anyway, moving on. In a memo to Global Staff Tuesday, Disney HR chief Sonia Coleman asserted that the changes and other related moves were intended to line up with the self-declared business goals and company values. Though under discussion for almost a year internally, the latest in a perceived series of walkbacks by Disney under Trump 2.0 was a hard pill to swallow for many staffers across various divisions of the company. Calling the present state of diversity initiatives at Disney uncertain, the insider added. What's next? Where do we go from here? What do we stand for now? Keeping MAGA happy? The correct answer is that Disney should keep its shareholders happy, but that is the furthest thing on the mind of these employees. This is not what I expected from Bob. I thought he had our back. And right there, you have the problem with employees of the activist persuasion. This unbelievable sense of entitlement. This mere notion that the CEO of the company is supposed to have their backs and enable them to do their preferred activism at company and shareholder expense. People like this are what you get when you practice the stakeholder primacy model. We've covered this before, but to briefly summarize, stakeholder capitalism is a model invented by real-life James Bond villain Klaus Schwab, and it states that the company essentially is there to do what is best for these stakeholders. And the stakeholders are pretty much everyone and everything, especially the environment and the most radical of the employees. That is who the company is supposed to serve under this model that Iger adopted. And employees like these are what you get as a result of that. The article continues. Another well-positioned individual cited embarrassment over the public apology and $15 million plus Disney paid out late last year to Trump's Presidential Foundation and Museum as part of a settlement reached in the then-President-elect's defamation case against ABC and anchor George Stephanopoulos as the beginning of the capitulation. Along with the DEI giveaway, new disclaimers regarding what were once termed negative depictions, new compensation metrics, and a rebranding of the Underrepresented Voices Reimagining Tomorrow program, several longtime employees referred to the December removal of a transgender storyline from Disney Plus's upcoming Pixar series Win or Lose as shocking and pandering to MAGA. Then, the article goes on to talk about the activist employees' disappointment with the return to Iger. There's a strong consensus across a swath of Disney employees that the current Iger era is nothing like the last, when it seemed like the company and its leaders were comfortable taking a stance and sticking to it, contrarians be damned. Well duh, then they could afford it. During the previous Iger regime, Disney was on top of the world after making great family content for years, void of any activism of any kind. It was then that they started going all-out activist with their programming, and they didn't care about contrarians, i.e. people with a brain, because they thought audiences would flock to Disney programming no matter how propagandistic it became. But as it turned out, they were wrong. The activist propaganda destroyed the Disney brand and audience trust in it. So now they have to walk it back if the company is to have a future. From there, the article drifts into Captain America and more, but I believe the main point here is clear. The activism that Iger pushed did tremendous damage to the company. Now he's trying to backtrack, not just to appease Trump, but to save his legacy. Yet, the very activists that he filled the company with are now turning against him. Clearly, activism means more to them than the viability of their employer. I hope Iger reads this piece and takes away the one sensible conclusion he should take away from this about what to do with these employees.
You're fired. Get out of here. Right?
Maybe he could hire Elon Musk and Big Balls as hatchmen to clean Disney up for him. Because if he doesn't, do you think Iger is even capable of cleaning up the mess he created? Let me know in the comments.